Greetings, this is Paul the Poke from PaulthePoke.com. Welcome to This Week in Prophecy. We have a lot of activity in Syria over the past week. Vanuatu Quake today. And Pope Francis, he's back at it again. We'll close with him. Scripture reference, Jeremiah 49, verses 24 through 27. Damascus has become feeble. She has turned to flee. Panic has gripped her. Anguish and pain have seized her like a woman in labor. How is the city of praise not forsaken? The town that brings me joy? For her young men will fall in the streets, and all her warriors will be silenced in that day, declares the Lord of hosts. Well, a lot of that hasn't completely happened, but it's a pretty good description of what's going on there. I will set fire to the walls of Damascus. It will consume the fortress of Ben-Hadad. And that's God talking again. So, and eventually we know, I think it's from Isaiah 17, that Damascus will get theirs. So, in the last week, since Assad has left Syria, this is from open source intelligence, and it's been more than the last 72 hours, the IDF has launched over 400 strikes. That number has grown significantly since that post was put out on targets inside of Syria, resulting in the elimination of 70 to 80% of the military capability of the former Syrian Arab armed forces. I would say that number is probably higher now. Locations struck included anti-aircraft batteries, Syrian Air Force airfields, naval bases, and dozens of weapon production sites in Damascus, Homs, Tartus, Latakia, and Palmyra, which resulted in the destruction of Scud tactical ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, surface-to-sea, sea-to-sea, surface-to-air, and surface-to-surface missiles, UAVs, fighter jets, attack helicopters, ships, radars, tanks, hangars, and more. Thank you very much. And effectively, really, the southern half of Syria has been taken out. The airport in Damascus has been destroyed. And that's got to make the folks over there in Iran a little bit nervous, because now Israel has no deterrence going across southern Syria, northern Iraq. Hello, we're on Iran's doorstep. So, and I saw something last night. I mean, it looked like a mushroom cloud. They blew up some weapons depot in southern Syria, I believe it was, registered 3.0 on the Richter scale. I mean, it was massive, the amount of explosion that was created. And so we have that. And now all of Mount Hermon is back in Israel's hands. And that's the entire Hermon Range. Israel's hands. From the Syrian side, formerly of the Syrian side, and formerly the Lebanese side. Israeli Defense Minister, the peaks of Mount Hermon in Syria have returned to Israeli control in a moving historical moment. Netanyahu and I visited the Golan Heights and saw the peaks of the Syrian Mount Hermon, which returned to our control after 51 years. I ordered the army to prepare to remain on the summit of Mount Hermon throughout the winter. So there you have it. That's what that looks like. This is Israel right here. And now this is the Mount Hermon range, roughly 15 and a half miles by 6.7 miles is what that comprises of. So Israel's kind of expanded its footprint. And this is from 65 GTO trips. Great follow on X, Twitter, whatever we want to call it. And I'm going to shoot you a copy of this and give you the shout out. He's a fun follow, follows a lot of current events taking place in Israel. Now, for whatever reason, anything he puts out seems to get filtered on my feed. Does a nice job. He's paying attention. So I saw it again. I don't know what's going on with some of this stuff. Social media. It is better than it was on X and Twitter, but I'm still in trouble in YouTube, and I had some stuff taken down on X this week, which is kind of interesting. But I did find the map of it, and I'm going to show it here. So we're gonna be right back at it. Russia calls Israel's seizure of Syria's Golan Heights unacceptable, and that's from Bricks. Bricks Info on Twitter. Had a picture of Putin looking stern and a highlight of the Golan Heights. They don't approve what Israel's doing. So, and right here, Al-Qunitra. This is part of the kind of the buffer zone right here. We're going to have another map of it that'll show it clearly. But Al-Qunitra, there were Russian forces there. They're gone now since Assad is out. Now, the Russians aren't going to like this either, because now we have the Druze community of southern Syria, and they have publicly declared their desire to secede from Syria and be annexed to Israel. And based on the topography, this is what the annexation would look like. The IDF has already taken over the DMZ in yellow and moved into some of the Druze towns and communities at the base of Mount Hermon. So, now just to give you a view here of this map, so this yellow is the DMZ, the buffer zone. There's Al-Qunitra again, where Russian troops were located. Israel has taken this over up to this area, and now we have Druze communities at the base of Mount Hermon who are wanting to secede to Israel. Now, keep in mind, Israel now controls this band of the Mount Hermon range. So potentially you are seeing a pretty good amount of land being annexed by Israel. And I'm going to go to this feed. This is a great feed and explains the situation very well. Have a link provided for those of you who want to follow this and dig into it a little deeper. Get to the bottom of this. A video has been released of the representatives of the Druze villages gathering on the border with Israel saying, "Where is our fate, Israel? We ask to be annexed to the Israel Golan to preserve our dignity." Now that you're like, what? They're not Muslim, but they also see what's going on, and they know which is effectively Al-Qaeda is about to take control of Syria. And they know they probably would rather choose to be on Israel's side than the Al-Qaeda side, because they have concerns of them trying to Al-Qaeda exterminating them. What is unclear from the video who these people represent other than the town of Hayder, the mentioning the surrounding area. Here's the marked towns in the Hermon region. I think we've seen this map. It is interesting to note, this is December 13th, so about 4 or 5 days ago. Declaration comes just days after Israel War Room reported that Netanyahu met with the leader of the Druze community in Israel. Netanyahu emphasized the need for security for the Syrian Druze. If they were to take this over here in the light red pink, that would leave them about 15 and a half miles from Damascus. Again, the Druze live in a mountainous region, so it's conceivable to see their territory as a defensible front line in the face of whatever regime comes to power in Syria. And then, again, all of this stuff is being taken out militarily, equipment, all throughout Syria, especially southern Syria. Where is this other video? Or not video, map. Yes, this map. This is Druze Mountains. Suwaida. Another group of Druze. And you got a group of Druze here. Also remember, Obadiah talks a little bit about Zarephath, which is essentially the Litani River, is kind of this area. So, I mean, we're looking at potentially... The scripture says this will, in southern Lebanon, Israel will control this. That is prophetic prior to the coming of Christ. Now the question is, how soon is that going to happen? I mean, is it imminent or is it years away? I don't know the answer to that. But when you start to have people, groups of people, who are wanting to be annexed to Israel and secede from either Lebanon, which that hasn't happened yet in Lebanon, but it is starting to happen in Syria. And these people want to get out of these countries and become part of Israel. Now, that's a game changer. Didn't have that on my bingo card. But these are the two regions of the Druze population in Syria. If they were to be annexed to Israel, a majority of the world's Druze would be living in Israel. And keep in mind, it was a Druze community that was shelled and bombed, and a bunch of kids playing soccer. Those were Druze kids in northern Israel when that happened. So they're no fans of what Hezbollah did, launching missiles out of southern Lebanon into Israel. Got some of their communities, some of the Druze communities in Israel. The state of Israel would become the de facto Druze homeland 70-some years after doing the same for the Jewish people. So here's, again, Druze communities in the area. You got some, again, here in Galilee, Carmel. And these were the folks that were attacked by Hezbollah. And it's just an extension of these folks in here. But that would pretty much, I mean, holy cow. Something to watch. Fascinating times we're watching. And again, technically the Druze are not Muslim. They have good reason to be very afraid of the Islamist rebels taking over Damascus. Annexing to Israel is a drastic measure, one they would only take if they feared possible genocide, because it would appear the new leader, who was a leader of Al-Qaeda, and remember, we also have pockets of ISIS out here in central Syria as well. So, interesting times. 2 days since Assad fled Syria, so this would have been December 9 when that happened. And the other fascinating thing taking place up here in the north is you got Turkey going after Kurds here in the yellow. Now, the Kurds have taken over a significant portion of the eastern part of Syria. But you have Erdogan and Turkey moving in on the Kurds in the northern part of Syria. So, makes sense. Israel wants as much space between itself and jihadi forces. So, wild times. Definitely want to keep our eye on Syria. And with that, we're going to transition to quakes in various places. So, we've had big 7.0 quakes in back-to-back weeks. Last week, it was off the coast of California. This week, Vanuatu checks in, 7.3 trembler on the Richter scale. This happened this morning. Resulted in a tsunami warning, as reported by U.S. seismologists and meteorologists. Since when do meteorologists get in on earthquakes? Interesting. Vanuatu police have officially confirmed at least one death associated with this catastrophic event. In addition to the loss of life, the quake caused significant damage to the region's infrastructure. Portavia, the capital, a complex that houses several embassies, including that of the U.S., suffered severe structural damage. Preliminary reports highlight that the destruction affected not only commercial and diplomatic buildings, but also residences, with several homes and public infrastructure damaged. It's on the Pacific Ring of Fire and amplifies the impact of this natural disaster on Vanuatu's life and economy. So we got a couple of links if you're interested. I want to say, which one had some video attached to this? I think it was this one. Let's pull it up. Yes. We have 4 different videos. This is from, click on this link. That's where I got the the text. This was provided by the informant. You can see some of the damage. I mean, poor guy in there working on a car and earthquake. There's the U.S. Embassy that got hit right there. Not good. So, we will close with Pope Francis. Friendly reminder to the Pope, Revelation 5, verse 5. Francis, one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has triumphed to open the scroll and its 7 seals." So, Judah means he's a Jew, a descendant of David, who was a Jew. Jeremiah 23, verse 5, "Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, Yahweh God, the Father. I will raise up for David, a Jew, a righteous branch." I think that word is netzer. In the Hebrew, could be referring to Nezarene, a branch, Nazarene, possibly, what we would know in the New Testament. "He will reign wisely as king and will administer justice and righteousness in the land." And here's Francis sitting at a little nativity scene with a little Palestinian cloth. Jesus is not a Palestinian. And do you think you really need to be doing that kind of stuff, Francis? I mean, you are getting up there in age, and you do run the risk of meeting the good Lord face to face here on potentially short notice. Do you think you want to be mislabeling the guy you're claiming to represent in his nationality and his upbringing and who he is and where he came from, and you're going to sympathize with a group of people who pretty much raped, pillaged, murdered his chosen people, crossed the border, invaded into his land, and killed his people. Isn't that fascinating? Since all of that has happened on October 7th, they thought, the enemies of Israel thought, it is time to go get them. And ever since they've done that, look at what has happened in the Middle East. I don't know if you guys remember Chuck Missler, but he used to talk about there was a bumper sticker in Israel or posters or something to the effect of, "We need more land." I'm paraphrasing. "We need more land. More jihad, please." But, the implication is every time the enemies of Israel declare jihad, they end up losing land. And it's happening again. They thought the time was right to go get Israel. And since then, they're losing ground, giving up more land, and their spaces are becoming utter wastelands. It's like Gaza. Everything that Hamas has done in Gaza. See, what is it, Amir? Sow the wind, reap the whirlwind. I mean, man, is that ever true? But Francis, he's a Jew. Jesus is a Jew. He's not a Palestinian. So appreciate you guys following along this week. Guarantee you mainstream press isn't covering this stuff. So stay here, trying to keep you informed as best as we can. Big ticket items that happen. I keep talking about Obadiah 1, Zarephath, which is effectively the Litani River in Lebanon. Israel's going to possess that land prior to Jesus coming. And the question is, when's that going to happen? I don't know the answer to it. Could be soon. We got a new president getting ready to take over in about a month. We also had some whispers today about the Saudis normalizing relations with Israel. I suspect that'll probably happen quickly once Trump becomes president. It's not going to happen under Biden's watch because MBS, Mohammed bin Salman's buddies with Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. So I don't see that thing going down until President Trump is in office. I'm probably going to have a relaunch of the Abraham Peace Accords. And I'll say this right now, when you see these things start to happen, look up, and I suspect, I'll probably be wrong on this, but I'll stick my neck out there. I won't be surprised if we see a decline in all the war and we start to have a decrease in the hostilities and peace, peace, peace. That's when you need to start getting nervous, because that's when things are getting close. So anyway, we'll watch it unfold. We'll see how it happens. We'll report on it. Any rate, appreciate you guys tagging along. Please share with others at PaulthePoke.com. It's going to be under the category of Burden of Damascus, Prophecy, and Trend Update. Talk to y'all later. Bye.